In today's 7 Days to Die video, we're talking about ranged weapon damage. Let's get to it. So I was thinking about damage in this game, specifically range damage, and I got to wondering, what is the most damage that we can do with a single bullet from one of the guns in the game? Because then we can use that info to know or get a general idea of what are the stronger guns or strongest gun is in the game. So in order to figure this out, the first thing I had to do is figure out all the different ways we could possibly increase the amount of damage that we can do on our guns. Two of these are rather common. You're probably thinking of one of them right now, and that is the Preacher Gloves. The Preacher Gloves is the biggest increase we can get to just damage in general in this game at a full 60% with the tier 6 Preacher Gloves. The other one is 𝐴𝐸. 𝐴𝐸 increases our ranged damage by 50%. These two things together give us 110% increased damage to zombies with our ranged attacks. So then I got to digging through the XML files, and I found another little hidden outlier that may not be obvious to new players. Some veterans may already realize this was a thing, but newer players may not, and I didn't at first, and that is Sniper Volume 1 gives us additional damage to any gun that has a scope on it when we are zoomed in with the scope. Doesn't matter what it is. So you can put a scope on a pistol, zoom in, and you get 10% increased damage. It gives us 10% across the board on anything that can have a scope. There's only one gun, unfortunately, that cannot have a scope, and that is the shotguns. Kind of sad that you can't scope with them because, you know, if I want to zoom in and shoot something at a distance with my shotgun, I should be allowed to, even if it's going to do terrible damage. But I digress. Anyway, that gets us 120% increased damage on everything but shotguns. So the next step was to test each of the weapons, and I only did the best tier version for each of the weapons. I didn't test like pipe pistols or any of that. I just went through all the different weapons, found each weapon for each category that had the highest base damage. The next thing to do was to mod them, because modding increases damage by default. Doesn't matter what mods you put on them, it increases the damage. Now, one mod says that it increases damage, giving you the impression that it actually adds more damage to the thing other than its base damage that it increases for just having a mod, and that is the extended barrel. But when you actually look at the code for the extended barrel, it doesn't do anything to actually increase damage. It does change the damage fall off and change the max range for the weapon, but it doesn't have a specific damage increase. It doesn't say entity damage and then give a percentage increase anywhere. The only thing that does actually do that is if we have Sniper Volume 1 active and we have a scope on something and we are zoomed in. It has a tag for being zoomed in. You actually have to be scoped in order to get that 10% increased damage. Before I started the test, I also ensured that I was using the best ammo that had the highest amount of damage on it for each weapon. I stayed pretty consistent because there was one that changed a little bit here and there, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. So now that I had the damage figured out, it was time to do the testing. Had the weapons modded, had my 𝐴𝐸 ready to go. I spawned in zombies and I tested each weapon one by one. I stood at about point blank range for all of them, and I did body shots, specifically body shots, because it's a lot easier to hit the body shots, and when you hit the head, it just multiplies the normal damage that you would get. So whatever damage we're getting for a body shot is just going to get multiplied if we do a headshot. It's also much easier and much more consistent to land body shots than it is headshots. So the damage that we get for body shots is going to matter more. So we're going to start off with the least amount of damage and then work our way up to the highest amount of damage. And the least amount of damage overall was the SMG with our 9mm ammo, coming in at 170 damage without the 𝐴𝐸, and with the 𝐴𝐸, it was 198. Now, I do want to point out that there is additional increased damage to this, but it's damage over time, so I didn't count it. So if you are at point blank range with the SMG or any of your 9mm guns and you have all of the perk books for them, you do cause bleed with each shot, but it's only at point blank range, and we're looking for instant damage, not damage over time, so it didn't get counted. The longer it takes to kill a zombie, the more chance a zombie has to kill you. Next up was the machine gun, coming in at 235 without 𝐴𝐸. With 𝐴𝐸, it was 274, and surprisingly enough, the crossbow wasn't the least amount. Next up is the crossbow in our list here, so it actually does more damage than the SMG and the machine gun. It dealt 272 without 𝐴𝐸 and 316 with the 𝐴𝐸. The next highest damage on our list was the Desert Eagle at 316 damage. With the 𝐴𝐸, we got close to 400 damage. The exact damage amount was 368, which is absolutely nuts for a single bullet. Now, you can actually pull off a little bit more with a single bullet, but it's not consistent because there's the a perk from one of the perk books that allows you to do additional damage with the final round in the chamber with the 45s, and that brought the damage up to 420. But we're not going to count that in our results because it's not consistent. As I stated, it's only the last round in the chamber, but I wanted to include it because it's a pretty high number for a single bullet. Next on the list was the sniper rifle. Without recog, we did 324. With the recog, we did 379. So really good, really high damage numbers there. Now let's get into the mess that is the shotgun. So the shotgun has the slug ammo and the buckshot ammo, and you would assume that the slug ammo would do pretty high damage, probably the highest damage out of the two, and that's not the case. It's kind of funny, but if you're close enough, you can actually pull off some absolutely insane numbers with the buckshot. Granted, you gotta be basically up in the zombies business in order to do it, but you can get some crazy numbers. So let's talk about those. With just the slug, without recog, we did 330. So still really high, still better than the sniper rifle. With recog active, that slug's damage went up to 386. So once again, still the highest damage out of all of the guns in the game with a single bullet. Now let's talk about the buckshot. The buckshot without recog active was 590 damage. That is nuts. Close to 600 damage with a single shot. That can one-shot dang near most zombies in the game and two-shot most others. With recog active, that went up to 690 damage, which is, once again, these numbers are just absolutely crazy. And remember, this is body shots. This isn't headshots. Now, I do want to point out that if you are using the buckshot, those damage numbers can vary a little bit, even if you are using the shotgun choke mod, which I was using for these tests. For those of you who don't know, that helps to group the pellets up more so you can get more consistent damage and less spread. And at the range that I was, the damage wasn't super inconsistent, but it was a little bit. I had some variations in there. I had to test this one a few more times than I had to test the others to ensure that I was getting the proper max damage value. So now that we know in order what does the most damage based on body shots, we are going to talk about headshots because I know there's going to be people that want to know about headshots and if that changes the lineup at all. Now, I only tested all these base values. I didn't test them with recog, so whatever list they are now, they're going to be in the same situation with recog because it's going to increase their damage evenly 50% across the board. So it's pretty much the same order. SMG, 510 damage with a headshot. Machine gun, 705 damage. Crossbow, 816 damage. That crossbow hits hard if you nail a headshot. Magnum, 948. So at this point, my irradiated party girls had extended all they were going to be able to do for us, and the tests now at this point, we had to introduce a variable. So these numbers may vary a little bit because I'm not sure how much more armor the irradiated whites have compared to the party girl. Now, we do bypass some of that armor, but we don't bypass it all. But I was one-shotting the party girls, so I couldn't get an idea of how much damage we were doing. I was also popping heads like it was nobody's business. I had to spawn in so many of these things to actually get legitimate numbers because I just kept one-shotting them. So keep that in mind. At this point, your chances of one-shotting are very high, and you're going to one-shot most things, and that we changed up our base target. So a headshot from a sniper rifle on the irradiated white did 1,572 freaking damage. Yeah, that thing hits like a truck. That's going to one-shot pretty much anything you shoot, except for your very high-level zombies. Now let's talk about the mess that is the shotgun. So, shotgun headshot with a slug actually did less than the sniper rifle. So the slug did 990. So if you're looking at range, you're not up for being point blank at a zombie's face. The sniper rifle is going to do more damage than the shotgun. Now, if you don't mind being in the zombie's face and you want to use the buckshot is still king and still puts our order in the exact same order because the buckshot did 1,770. Yeah, close to 2,000 damage from a headshot from a shotgun using buckshot. I would also like to note, and take this with a grain of salt because I would have to test for this, it did feel like the shotgun was popping heads more than the sniper rifle when I was using the buckshot. So it could be a situation where that 1,770 damage hits that threshold to pop a head better than the sniper rifle, but once again, that's just circumstantial evidence and what it felt like to me. I would have to kill tons of zombies in a row and graph out some stuff and do a bunch of nonsense, but it did feel like it was, and 1,770 damage is a ton of damage. So if you're using the buckshot, our lineup stays the same. If you're using slugs, sniper rifle is was going to be a better option, as the sniper shots do more damage than the slugs from a shotgun. So overall, I have found this test pretty interesting. This wasn't the lineup I expected. I didn't expect the crossbows to do as much damage as they do. I mean, yeah, they can do a ton of sneak damage, but that's why I didn't expect them to do as much damage. I expected them to be the lowest due to the fact that they do such high sneak damage. From a gameplay balance perspective, that would make more sense. I also didn't expect the shotgun's buckshot to do the most damage. I thought it was going to be the Magnum or the Desert Eagle 44 calibers, then sniper rifles as our top two. Anyway, let me know what you all think about these results down there in the comment section. Were you surprised by this? Were you not? Did you already know? Let me know what you all think down there in the comments. I'm eager to hear your all's thoughts. And if you're looking for some more of my 7 Days to Die content, you can find a link to another one of my videos on the screen right now. I want to give an absolute massive shout out and thank you to all of my channel supporters for helping to keep these videos sponsor free. You all are absolutely amazing people. If you would like to become an official channel supporter, check out the links in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy, you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and share your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.